greatly appreciate this opportunity to speak to you this morning. And this is actually the first time I've been in a pulpit in about 14 months, so it feels kind of nice to be back in the saddle, so to speak. I'd like to begin, if I may, by offering you just a little piece of biographical trivia, and that is that my grandmother was Peter Pan's housekeeper. And I can see from the looks on your faces and your laughter that there might be a little bit of skepticism in there. Okay, I'll confess, it's not entirely true. The fact is that she worked in the home of actress Mary Martin, who many of you might remember played Peter Pan on Broadway, as well as in a very special television production in the 1950s. So as a child, that meant to me that my grandmother was Peter Pan's housekeeper. And to this day, I refuse to hear it any other way. Perhaps because of that, I've always loved the story of Peter Pan, and I mean, how can you not like a story that's filled with pirates and Indians and crocodiles, not to mention a place where people can fly, or particularly a place where you never have to grow up. In Jane Barrie's original story, there's a particular conversation that takes place between the pirate Smee and Captain Hook that has always caught my attention, and it goes like this. I have often, said Smee, noticed your strange dread of crocodiles. Not crocodiles, Hook corrected him, but that one crocodile. He lowered his voice. It's like my arm so much that it has followed me ever since, from sea to sea and from land to land, licking its lips for the rest of me. In a way, said Smee, it's a sort of compliment. I want no such compliments, Hook barked petulantly. I want Peter Pan, who first gave the brute its taste for me. He sat down on a large mushroom, and now there was a quiver in his voice. Smee, he said huskily, that crocodile would have had me before this. But by a lucky chance, it swallowed a clock which goes tick-tick inside it. So before it can reach me, I hear the tick and bolt. He laughed, but in a hollow way. Someday, said Smee, the clock will run down, and then he'll get you. Hook wetted his dry lips. I said, that's the fear that haunts me. That's the fear that haunts me. Is it just me, or do you also get the sense that Barrie was talking about something else besides a croc with a clock in its belly? To me, that croc with the persistent tick-tick emanating from it is a metaphor for something that we all have snapping at our heels each and every day. That strange and mysterious thing we call time. It doesn't announce its presence with an audible tick-tick, at least not since most watches turned digital or were replaced by cell phones altogether. But there's something inside of us that reminds us of its ever-forward progression, and how we handle those snapping jaws of time has a lot to do with our quality of life. Do we really see time as a snapping crocodile? Or do we see it as an opportunity to be filled with purposeful and meaningful actions? And once again, how we choose to see it has a lot to do with whether it becomes a field of great potential or a source of anxiety. And of course, we divide time into three primary categories: past, present, and future. And once more, quality of life is affected by which one of those categories dominates our thoughts. The past is that which has come and gone. It no longer exists. Or does it? William Faulkner once said that the past is not dead. In fact, it's not even past. Sometimes the past is very much a part of our present. Sometimes for the good and other times not so much. Using the parlance of the day, we carry into our present a lot of baggage from the past. Some of it is light carry-on, made up of pleasing memories of people, places, and events. Other times it becomes large, heavy baggage that has become permanently checked within our heart and mind, and which has a tendency to weigh us down emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. Such baggage is often filled with a sense of loss or of wounds to our psyche that have never fully healed, as well as things called guilt and shame. All of these things we carry around in our present in many ways, and it becomes a part of who we are. Now, of course, we have to learn how to leave all of that heavy baggage behind, to accept that the past truly is past, and not allow the wounds of the past to fester. To forgive those who have caused those wounds and scars, and to truly believe that through God's grace and forgiveness, we have been set free from whatever forms of guilt and shame we carry within. Likewise, we can hold on to the good memories as a source of well-being and even of healing. Yet at the same time, we cannot cling to or yearn for good times gone by in a way that keeps us from seeing or relating to the realities of our present. Now, the future is a wide open field, a time that does not yet exist, but which is filled with pure potential and possibility. But the future can also be the greatest source of anxiety, depending on what we project into it. We can choose to see the future as a time made up of hope and great promise, but we can also fill it with our fears and our insecurities in ways that render it a place of dread. When we allow our imagination to fill the future with fantasies of foreboding, our present can become stifled by a paralysis of spirit. We prevent ourselves from seeing the possibility of good in our future, which only renders our present a place of darkness. Now, Jesus' comments concerning time are actually mixed. In this morning's reading, he essentially tells us to remain grounded in our present and to not fill our projections into the future with worries about where our meals and our clothing will come from. But then also throughout the Gospels, he invites us to look into the future with an expectation of a coming kingdom. What that says to me is that if we are going to look towards the future, and really, is it possible to avoid doing so, our thoughts should be filled with the light of hope, undergirded by faith, and not weighed down with anxiety and fear. He asks us if worrying is going to change anything. Well, I think it actually can change things, but usually in a very negative way. Projecting our anxiety and our fear into the future can make of it a self-fulfilling prophecy. And it's bad enough that we drag all of our terrible baggage from our past into our present, but then why increase the weight we bear by projecting a vision of a future filled with gloom and doom. We have no idea what the future holds. It's an empty slate. But allowing our imagination to run wild in a negative fashion serves no other purpose than to make a mess of our present. No longer is Hook's crocodile snapping at our heels. It's waiting for us in our future, licking its lips, waiting to devour us, and only because we have placed it there. No longer is the future made of infinite possibility, but instead it becomes the realm of fears that haunt us. Jesus speaks of God's great care for the birds of the air and for the lilies of the field, and how much more He will care for us. Yet in our minds, we often do not hesitate to place that crocodile right in the midst of those lilies, hiding and waiting to jump out and get us. Someone once said that worry is a terrible waste of imagination. For whatever reason, we love to fill our vision of the future with all sorts of forebodings, and I don't know why. Perhaps we find it easier to not set ourselves up for disappointment. Yet we also don't want to be too Pollyanna-ish. When we look ahead, we know that there will be struggles, challenges, even bad times. That can't be avoided. It's just the way of the world. But we also don't want to blow such things so out of proportion before they even happen that it only serves to cripple us in our present. Faith insists that we look to the future with boldness and courage, confident that as we move forward into it, God will be there as Holy Spirit to strengthen us and to see us through whatever it may hold. Jesus never promised us that life would be all roses and lollipops. In fact, in a number of places in the New Testament, he actually says quite the opposite. For example, he said if we want to follow him, we must first pick up our cross. And crosses are rarely a pleasant thing to pick up. But he also said that his burden is light. But note that it does not become light because it ceases to be a burden, but because we don't have to bear it alone. We are not alone in our present, and as we journey into our future, because he is in spirit with us. The Danish writer Søren Kierkegaard once pointed out that Christian faith is based upon a great paradox, that it begins with the belief that the eternal has entered into the temporal, that the infinite has entered the finite. In other words, in faith we rejoice that in Jesus Christ, the eternal Word of God has entered into our time-bound lives, filling them with grace and hope and love and promising even to be with us always, even unto the end of time. Likewise, we are not alone because in the unity of the body of Christ, we have each other. In love, we are there for each other in joy and in sorrow. Borrowing a term from philosopher Martin Heidegger, I've always described ministry as being there, that we all minister to one another by being there for each other, if not physically, then in spirit and in the depths of prayer. Heidegger also referred to us as beings towards death, meaning that within us, even if tucked way down in our subconscious, there's an awareness that our time on this planet is fragile and limited. And deep down within, we know that the day will come when the clock will run down and the croc will get us. And this can be an underlying cause of anxiety. But our faith also informs us that when that day comes, it is then our turn for our temporal selves to enter into the eternal. And that at the heart of it, we will find Jesus, who will open his arms and welcome us home. So do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring worries of its own. Today's trouble is enough for today, Jesus said. Wise words, indeed. But truthfully, often much easier said than done. Because anticipation of what is coming our way can be so much a natural part of us in this age of anxiety. All we can do is the best we can do, staying focused on that which is staring us right in the face at any given moment, without compounding our challenges and imaginings with what might be around the next corner. The future will reveal itself in due time. But whatever dimension of time we find ourselves focused upon, whether memory has dragged us into the past, or our imagination has projected ourselves into the future, or we find ourselves intently focused on the moment at hand, it's always wise to follow Jesus' call for us to seek first the kingdom of God. In other words, if we emerge out of our past and grasp each present moment with a sense of hope grounded in faith and with a heart filled with love, we may truly find our burdens easier to bear and the crocodile much less haunting. Amen.